comes to life. Would be here with you, and therefore we are fulfilling that promise. So we'll take a quick break, and as you know, you've heard the program AgriAction, a program of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy, bringing you information, updates, highlights on what is happening within the sector and within, of course, the ministry. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. As I said, we're taking a quick break just to get our housekeeping matters in order. We have a little bit of a late start, but nonetheless, we're here. I do want to apologize for that. We have been out on the field for the entire day. Just coming from Cassibros, while a very, very hot, very, very enjoyable day on the field today, where we were with the East Agricultural Region farmers, the livestock farmers that is, teaching them in terms of how to install the electric solar fencing system that we just introduced. So as I mentioned, we are here every third Thursday, bringing you another area within the sector, another department, unit, etc. And today we are highlighting the project implementation unit of the Emergency Agricultural Livelihoods and Climate Resilience Project. So from 8 to 9 tonight, we are discussing the World Bank Agriculture Project. And for those of you who are into social media, we are live with the audio on Facebook, so you can also tune in via that means on DBS and on our ministry's page. Numbers to call, etc. will be given, but we have in the studio with us, who is just adjusting his mic, Mr. Kevin Stevenson, Project Manager. Good night to you, sir.
Hi, good night. Good night to all the listeners.
All right. How are you doing?
Radio. I'm doing fine.
All right. Mr. Stevenson, so why we haven't heard from you? So you know you're going to get the phone calls coming down like rain. So that's why I'm saying early on, it's no need to go into the project, what it's about, the conceptualization, etc. We all know that we have a limited time. So what we want to do is to show highlights, successes, any issues any farmers, fishers may have, and just to seek some clarification for you out there. Numbers to call as usual are 1-800-327 448-3281 and 448-3279. Interestingly, we do have some farmers who have holdings and operations in Dominica but are overseas. So you can feel free to call on 305 432-9744 because I just got a call from, I think, England last week. I'm asking for some clarification because they have actually a farm manager, so they wanted some information. So people are investing in agriculture, people are investing in the sector. Mr. Stevenson, just quickly to summarize it, what's going on at the PIU as we speak?
Well, currently at the PIU, we just got approval on April 30th for an additional 8 million US, which is equivalent to 20 million EC dollars, and that's to enhance our production systems and to enhance our marketing of local produce and to support agro-processors. So that's the latest project that we have right now to execute 8 million or 20 million EC dollars.
And when you say to execute, can you just expound on that for us? Because $20 million is a lot of money.
Well, originally the project was supposed to finish in December 2024. But because we have received the additional funds, we now have an extension to May 2025. So we have some more time to spend over $20 million, which is an enormous task, but we're going to try our best.
Okay, so in terms of spending, yes, it's one thing to spend, but how are we going to spend it then? So if we're going to look at livestock, fishing, etc., etc.
Well, as the previous project, where we tried to spend over $70 million, that project is concentrating on vegetable production, banana production, fisheries, agro-processing, and marketing. And by that we mean, on the livestock, we want to spend over $2 million in rebuilding the abattoir. We have already signed a contract with regional corporation, a local company.
Regional contractors.
Yeah, a local company. Yeah. And we're hoping to start the abattoir. It's roughly around $5 million to build a new abattoir. And equipment, we're looking to furnish some new equipment in that abattoir. We're also hoping to build a feed mill. And again, a feed mill so that we can have feed for poultry and pork production being produced in Dominica at a much cheaper price than is currently imported. And that to me is a good invention. And we're also hoping to support local hatcheries. So that's an intervention for livestock, around 2.1 million US dollars, roughly around 5 million each. In terms of modernization of cropping systems, we're hoping to have restored over 100 greenhouses, and we're hoping to erect around over 30 new greenhouses. We're also hoping to target 100 farmers if irrigation. With the dry season we have right now, we can see the urgent need of having irrigation systems installed, and we want to enhance banana production, not to the levels of the 90s, but to at least supply our local market of over 500 boxes and at least export over 500 boxes. So we're targeting over 100 banana and plantain farmers. And we're hoping to build capacity of extension by the purchase of 3 additional vehicles so that extension will have increased access to farmers, so that the complaints of farmers not seeing extension officers, we're hoping that that will be alleviated by the provision of the transportation. And we're also hoping to help farmers on sloping lands have drains, vetiver, in terms of how do we prevent our sloping lands from having landslides, a serious problem we have during the rainy season. And we also want to tap on using our rainwater, because Dominica has over 300 inches of rain annually. So it's good that we can trap that rainfall and have it available for irrigation or for livestock operations. So, but not leaving out fisheries, We're also targeting 9 fisheries landing sites, both in terms of improvement or restoration of slipways, or vending areas, or in terms of toilets and other facilities. And the 9 sites are basically Scottshead, Soufriere, Stowe, Newtown, Fonkole, Maho, Bayos, Dubla, and Saint-Sauveur. We hope in those 9 areas we will have improved slipways in Saint-Sauveur, Stowe, Scottshead, and Soufriere, improved vending areas in Fonkole and Newtown, and we're hoping to have improved locker rooms and improved changing sites in Maho, Bayos, Dubla. So those interventions in the fisheries landing sites will come up to over $900,000. So these are some of the interventions we want to make to enhance livestock, modernize cropping systems, and restore and develop some fisheries landing sites.
Okay, so I think that captures the 20 million there.
No, in terms of enhancement of marketing, we also give Dexter $5 million so that they can pay for produce in a timely fashion, and that we have gotten some good response. Dexter have spent over $1.5 million so far to date from that facility, and we're hoping that that will encourage farmers to increase their plantings, in that we have improved marketing. We have also made provisions for providing the hucksters with over $500,000 worth of boxes, so that those boxes will be available to their members. And we also helping Dexter to improve on their marketing by enhancing the marketing in regional depots, be it Antigua, St. Kitts, and Tortola, by improving the quality of produce leaving Dominica to those markets. So that is over $2.2 million US for enhancing marketing, again roughly $5 million each. And the last component, but not least, is agro-processors, whereby we want to spend over $800,000 US in supporting over 120 agro-processors. Up to date, we received over 180 applications online for agro-processors. So it is something that is urgently required, especially after Maria, and we now want to help agro-processors in the procurement of equipment that they would require so that they can improve not only the quality of the product, but improve the efficiency of producing the product cheaper and more competitively.
Okay, so if we dissect it just a bit, Mr. Stevenson, we're saying that some farmers will get direct line assistance, and in some other areas, we're making the subsector a little more sustainable.
Yep, direct intervention for farmers, well, banana farmers, vegetable farmers, field crop farmers using irrigation in terms of direct intervention, and indirectly through helping Dexter and the Hucksters Association in ensuring that marketing can be improved, and directly assisting agro-processors in the procurement of agro-processing equipment. We also have a component of helping commercial farmers. We're targeting 500 commercial farmers, 400 crop farmers, and 100 livestock farmers to improve their post-harvest handling of their produce by the provision of crates, tarpaulins, scales, and other equipment that will help farmers improve on their post-harvest and to reduce their post-harvest losses.
Okay, so we have you mentioned the feed mill, and I know that this was a slight change from the original plan. Why was that done?
Well, the original plan was to buy feed and make it available to farmers because of the high cost of feed as a result of the Ukraine war and other factors that are affecting the supply chain. However, we felt that buying feed was a short-term solution to the problem. So in terms of solving the problem from a long-term point of view, we felt that having a feed mill in Dominica in the short term using imported raw material, but eventually we're hoping that we can use more local material in the production of the animal feed. And local material remain by encouraging the planting of cassava and other materials that has been found to be good raw material for the manufacturing of feed. But for now, we want to start importing raw corn and other materials out of Dominica, which at the end of the day, we can get at least a 20% reduction in the cost of feed to farmers.
And so once you also mentioned when we come back to the feed, what has the response from farmers been? Have we piloted that idea within the livestock sphere? Mm-hmm.
Well, to be honest, farmers have taken it favorable in the sense that right now farmers are in the process of restoring their structures. So not all farmers have restored their structures and have the necessary animals to feed. So they see that time of constructing the feed mill is enough time for them to construct their own facilities, and by the time they construct the facilities, we're also making provisions under the previous project, not only to improve the central livestock farm, which we have already done. We have improved the bull pen, the goat pen, the sheep pen, and what we are now making provisions for is to source some improved what you call it, sperm, artificial insemination using straws, so we can have improved small ruminants, including goats and sheep and pigs, available to farmers. So not only we providing the structures, but we're now making provisions to provide improved genetics of livestock for small ruminants, so that with those improved animals, improved housing, then we'll have an urgent need for having a reduction in the cost of feed.
All right. So before we take a break, we just want to speak on the hatcheries. You did mention 4 hatcheries,
No,
and some people may not even know that we have hatcheries on island.
Yeah. Originally, we intended to have 4 hatcheries. And you did not hear me say 4 hatcheries, I said support 2 hatcheries.
Oh, so maybe I have some back information.
Yeah. So we intend to support 2 hatcheries. The reason is we have to make a slight reduction in the budget to accommodate the actual cost for the abattoir, because we actually receive one thing. When you write a project, you can have an estimate, but when you get the bids from the people who tendered, you now know what it will actually cost you to rebuild the abattoir. And now we know it's not going to cost us 1.7 but 1.8, roughly 5 million EC to build the abattoir, and that includes equipment. So we're hoping to build the abattoir for 1.2 million US. That is roughly around 4 million. And we're hoping to buy equipment like refrigeration, slaughtering equipment, etc., for over $500,000.
So that would have, of course, increased the budget, you're saying.
Yep.
And so reallocation of funds.
Yep. So that's why we had to reduce hatcheries from 150,000 US dollars to 100,000, which is roughly 270,000 EC dollars.
So the aim of the hatcheries then would to provide
Again,
one day.
The aim of the hatchery is to improve capacity of our local hatchery operators in providing hatchlings, that is, baby chicks for farmers interested in layers and in broilers. Because presently we import our chicks out of Barbados, and sometimes it is very costly, and the volume. So right now I think there are private people bringing chicks, roughly something around 1,000 chicks, and the demand for chicks is sometimes maybe 2,000, 3,000. Because of logistics in terms of the air transport bringing chicks and the type of arrangement that needs to ensure that when the chicks arrive in Dominica, they are healthy. So we felt that if we can improve on doing the hatcheries in Dominica, that would not only reduce the cost, make the chicks more available, and at the same time, we're hoping that we can improve the training and the capacity of the hatchery operation by providing the necessary equipment that would ensure that the hatcheries are done efficiently and and cheaply in terms of making the chicks affordable to farmers.
Because I was going to ask Mr. Stevenson like half a second ago. Yes, we are asking for all these improvements and want to make the changes, but people are interested in the cost benefit analysis when you look at the things in terms of will it be a cheaper process for them.
That's the whole objective I'm picturing that all our interventions with infrastructure is we're hoping that we can do the intervention locally and as a result reduce the cost and then the farmer will find it more affordable in the case of the feed mill, more affordable feed, and in the case of hatcheries, more affordable chicks. So that is the objective, to make things a little easier for the farmers in light of the high cost of production of inputs in Dominica.
Okay, so we've covered in terms of the various areas of the circ, and as we said, it's another $20 million EC that is made available to assist the farmers once again. We take a quick break and then we come back into other aspects of the Emergency Agricultural Livelihoods and Climate Resilience Project, the World Bank funded project for agriculture right now. I know farmers are interested and they want to hear what is in it for them, what is happening. So do stay tuned for that. Are you into agribusiness or agri-trading? Do you want to join the sector? Are you looking for guidance? The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy is calling on you to tune in this Thursday and every third Thursday of the month from 8 p.m. for AgriAction, where we provide you with factual information. Be part of the movement, join the discussion, make your contribution, make a difference. AgriAction, where we seek to update you on local and global opportunities and trends. AgriAction, a program of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy. Join us right here on DBS Radio and via our social media platforms. AgriAction, where agriculture comes to life.
Hey, Mr. Farmer, Madame Farmer, a honte ka pale ba ou. Nou atan le venaj la ou sa. Protéger jardin, hod, vent et puis glo en temps cyclone ça là. Avant yon cyclone, on se yon hurricane. Débloquer tout drain qui en jardin et puis bâtir drain neuf pour chaque glo la pli hot jardin. Prune, on se débrancher tout pied bois au nez, esprit d'arrow pour empêcher vent qui fort, washer bon d'arrow à subitation. Personne qui pour mettre toutes les outils ou tout équipement dans une place qui est bien sécure. Et puis chemical là, on y a là, weedicide là, fungicide là, pesticide là, pesticide qui vous mettez en côté, la glue la plus pas que ça lave et descend en avenant, et puis lave et descend en live et puis den en lamea, nous parlons pièces cribiche, pièces mille flottées, et puis femme records. Tout ça on est à subitation en jardin. Faire yon liste li, et bien mettez yon côté qui cherche ou se faire un monde tien pays ba ou. Parce que la vie est important, manger est important, l'argent est important, livelihood qu'on regarde en anglais, pour vivre à l'aise et puis famille et puis enfants, ça est important. En tant que comme ça là.
A message brought to you by the ministry responsible for agriculture and the fisheries. Okay, so welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. And in our studios today, this evening, we have as our guest Mr. Kevin Stevenson, Project Manager of the Emergency Agricultural Livelihoods and Climate Resilience Project. We are discussing not what is new within the project and how farmers can further benefit. Mr. Stevenson did mention the CIRC, and some farmers may be wondering, Mr. Stevenson, how do I get through? How do I apply? Is it too late? Am I on time? Have I been targeted? Can I stay on my farm in Zion and know that I will just be written on a piece of paper and be called when the time is right?
Okay. For the banner program, we already received over 200 applications. We have issued contracts. However, we're going to do a field evaluation to find out not only farmers are suitable in terms of acreage, but suitable in terms of readiness of the farm. Readiness of the farm in the sense that the farm has to be proper sanitation, no dead leaves, no heavy infestation of this spot, drains are unblocked, and farmers are cultivating bananas to make money. So we're going to do a field evaluation over the next 2 weeks so that we can target 100 serious banana and planting farmers. Then you might ask, what is in it for them? Basically, 350,000, which is roughly $1 million each year, is to be spent on 100 farmers. And by that, each farmer will get on average around 9,500. And we're hoping that 50% will be for inputs and 50% will be for tools, motorized tools of augers, brush cutters, etc., that will improve on the use of labor on the farm. We have received over 203 applications. We have gone through the forms and we have already placed the order for those equipment based on the request that is coming out. So all we're going to do right now is to verify in the field who are the 100 farmers that are to receive the materials that are requested by those farmers. In terms of the irrigation, we received
But Mr.
over...
Stevenson, before you go to irrigation, just to clarify for bananas, you're saying the farmer now, what is his input? Is it his labor contribution?
Well, first of all, the banana unit has over 700 farmers registered as farmers. So the first thing we have to know, the program is targeting commercial, serious farmers. In other words, you must have at least 3 acres, or you have 2 acres established and willing to establish another acre to make it free, but you must have 3 acres. Like some farmers came in the office, or like last week, he had half an acre, and he said, "Oh gosh, sir, drop I am a farmers. Oh, I planted bananas for over 40 years. I said, "Sir, yes, you planted bananas for over 40 years. However, half an acre of bananas is just around 250 plants or 300. That is not enough bananas to be a commercial farmer of selling bananas on a regular basis and employing labor to help you. So we're hoping to improve the amount of money that is coming in the community by targeting a minimum acres of 3 acres, and the farmer's contribution is he have the farm established. Now, we're also giving farmers, again, the project is paying for that from the project, tissue culture plants. We are providing over 300 as we speak. We have over distributed last week and this week. Over maybe 2,000 plants have been distributed to date. We have over 13,000 tissue culture planting plants to distribute to farmers. We have 41 farmers who have expressed interest for receiving those plants, and we have already started distribution of those plants to farmers. Those farmers will have to ensure that their lands are lined, the holes are dug, and that's the contribution we expect from farmers. Any farmer who has not lined or who has not dug his holes, we are not going to give him plants, because we want to make sure the plants are planted and not on the side of the house in bags waiting to be planted.
And that covers bananas and plantains.
Well, for now, we're getting the plants in 15,000 batches. We received 15,000 planting plants in December. As I said, we're now distributing them. We received a further 15,000 Williams banana plants 2 to 3 weeks ago, and they are growing beautifully. Right now, we have over 17,000 plants, a little more than the 15,000. And we're hoping that in the next 8 weeks to 12 weeks, we'll bring in a further 15,000 of a variety that farmers have been asking for. So at the end of the day, we'll have 45,000, 15,000 tissue culture planting plants, and 30,000 banana plants available. And the advantage of those plants is they have no nematodes, no borers, no pests, so they have an ability to grow quickly and uniformly.
And all this is happening. Where is it happening? All this?
Well, the plants are being taken care of, weaned and hardened at the 1 mile agricultural station in Portsmouth, and farmers who have their vans are coming to pick up the plants with their vans, and farmers who have no van, we have been providing the plants through the Ministry of Agriculture truck, delivering the farms on site. And again, the farmers' contribution is to ensure that they have labor on site to receive the plants, because we can't expect to use the truck of the ministry and still expect the ministry to be taking off plants of the truck and pushing it for farmers. So we are making an appeal to farmers in the coming week. Those farmers who know they're going to get plants, please make sure your plants, your farm is lined, your holes are dug, and we have also provided 2 bags of lime to farmers to put in the planting holes, again free of cost as a contribution from the project to those farmers planting those horticulture plants.
Okay, so as I've covered bananas and plantains, and then we're moving on to irrigation.
Again,
But a quick question, Mr. Stevenson, again though. What will we be evaluating or monitoring once all that has been done?
well, monitoring is an ongoing process. For bananas, for example, we had a first monitoring, which I did personally, of all farmers who expressed interest to find out if they had the acreage. We're now going to do a next verification within the next coming weeks to ensure farmers' fields are in a proper condition before we endorse those farmers to receive inputs. We do not want to give inputs and tools to farmers with farms that are in not a favorable condition. Again, we have developed some what we call field sanitation forms. That is at the Prince right now as we speak, and we're hoping that we can roll out those forms by next week with the extension officers to ensure that we have farmers complying by making sure that the farms are in a good condition and not heavily infested farms with this spot.
All right, so we move on to irrigation now.
Irrigation, over the last 2 weeks, we were in the field evaluating. Again, farmers express their interest. Now, a farmer expresses interest, you must go out in the field and verify, one, if you have a source of water close by, how far, if it is down or up, if you need a pump, if you need a tank, what type of system that you need. So we did that over the last 2 weeks. We now have that information, and we're now in the process of ordering from the field visit what is required by the farmer. So a farmer might say he wants a 2.4 horsepower pump. But when we went on the field visit, we find out no, based on the height of the farmer might need a 5 horsepower pump. So we now know from the field visit what changes we have to make to the farm on the actual equipment, and not guessing what equipment the farmer might want, but ordering the appropriate equipment for the farmers, and we're hoping that we can start the process of ordering in the next 2 weeks.
So we're saying that we're still providing guidance as to what is appropriate for the farmer on their farm.
Again, because we have a target of 100 farmers and we receive around 70 applications, we're still taking applications for irrigation. So if a farmer hearing this program right now and is interested in irrigation, he can come to the office. However, there is a criteria. You must have a minimum acreage of 1 acre to qualify for irrigation, and no more than 4 acres. So between 1 to 4 acres, we're hoping to provide water for your farm for vegetables and field crops like bananas, passion fruit, and pineapples.
So why no more than 4 acres?
One is it's roughly around $5,000 per acre. So that means more than 4 acres, we have to be spending $20,000 plus on one farmer. The budget is limited. We have 400,000, roughly 1 point something million each. So with a limited budget, we cannot give people unlimited and trying to ensure that everybody at least solve their irrigation. And from experience, I'm not aware of any farmer in Jamaica who has irrigation more than 2 acres on their farm.
Okay, so that's plausible. That's a acceptable response. Looking at the greenhouses, we had a meeting, a follow up meeting, because I mean greenhouses, with protected agriculture. This is something that everybody speaks about. Farmers want to get engaged. What is an update from that meeting and from that component of the circ?
Again, we had an expression of interest for over 100 plus farmers for greenhouses. However, we have complaints saying some farmers didn't meet the criteria. Again, some farmers were requesting to have new greenhouses and not restoration. So we had to change the criteria to fit to encourage new greenhouses. So for example, a farmer who had 4 greenhouses and all the greenhouses got damaged. That means they're entitled to a new greenhouse because all the greenhouses they had were structurally damaged and cannot be restored. You cannot put plastic on a structure that is damaged. So we have to revise and say people can get a new greenhouse, not necessarily because you have a greenhouse, because all your greenhouses could be damaged. So you're now entitled to get a new greenhouse. We also had the issue of youth. How do we get youth and women involved in greenhouse production? And again, some youth might not have a greenhouse. So how do you tell them they don't have a greenhouse so they cannot get a greenhouse? So we have to change the criteria to include, as a youth, you have access to water, a tank to be exact, and not just water by 1 or 2 drums on your farm. You have a minimum of 1,000-gallon tank. Access to water will ensure that we can give you a greenhouse to start your operation as a youth and maybe as a lady. So we now have 3 different type of people who now qualified to get new greenhouses. Either your greenhouses were damaged, either you have an existing greenhouse and you want to expand, you're doing very good in your one greenhouse and you want the next one. But we're not encouraging people that have greenhouses for greenhouses' sake. We did a survey and we have over 250 greenhouses in Dominica and over 100 are not being used. So we have to strike a balance, restore those, put a plastic, whatever, of what's being used, and new greenhouses for either all your greenhouses were damaged, or youth and women, or you want to expand from being a good greenhouse farmer. And we're hoping that we can target 30 new greenhouses and restore over 100 greenhouses. So we're targeting over 130 farmers for greenhouse production.
And we're saying that these from the meeting, from the change in the criteria and the adjustments, you can now come back into the office.
Yeah, we have adjusted the forms and we have sent all the forms to the regions. So the regional officers have the forms to make it available to those farmers who felt that they couldn't take part because of the criteria, or their greenhouses were damaged, or they're using their existing greenhouse and they want to expand, or a youth that doesn't have a greenhouse but have access to water, minimum of 1,000 gallons, can now apply under the greenhouse program.
Okay, so we've covered greenhouses, we've covered protected hatchery. We now go to the big item, post-harvest and value addition in agriculture. We have an A and B component, meaning agro-processing, and you mentioned for farmers, tools, equipment, etc. Just to elaborate a bit on the post-harvest for now, because the agro is the bigger chunk of the matter. Farmers have signed up and they have expressed their interest. This has gone via a hybrid system, online, in person at the farmer service centers. That is closed right now. Applications for that, are they closed? Are they still open? What's the next step?
Again, we extended applications up to the end of April. We originally had it up to the 17th of April, but based on the applications coming in, people didn't have enough time to provide their supporting documents. Basically, people have to provide a valid ID, they have to have a food handler's permit, they have to ensure their business is registered, they would have to show proof of income, because based on your income, you will get the assistance. We had assistance ranging from 10,000 EC to 40,000 as the max. So based on providing proof of your income, you will then be eligible to receive either 10,000, 20,000 or 40,000. And we're now in the stage of compiling those applications. First of all, farmers who have applied and their enterprise is not food, because we're trying to promote food security. So yes, you might want to be doing shampoos and hair products. Unfortunately, the program is targeting food, edible oils, cocoa sticks, coconut cream, and we're also targeting livestock in terms of smoked meat, your chicken and fisheries. So we're hoping that we can target those enterprises for adding value to the raw material.
All right, so this has been done. We said we got about 180 applications. Applicants are already asking, what's the next step?
Good.
When will I see you all again?
Good. What's the next step? We're hoping to go out in the field from next week on a two-stage verification.
So that would mean going into their establishments, wherever they say that they actual function.
Yep, and we'll be doing that in two phases. The first phase would to ensure that you have the environmental procedures in your enterprise to ensure that people are getting safe food. So, for example, you have to have running water, your place have to be rat-proof, etc. So the environmental health, the produce chemist of the Division of Agriculture to look at standard operating procedures, and the Bureau of Standards to ensure that your process flow, how you receive the raw material, where you process, and where you package is not in the same area, so you avoid contamination. So we're hoping with a three-man team of the Environmental Health, Bureau of Standards, and the Division of Agriculture would visit those applicants and first of all give you a green light and say, good, your establishment is okay. Even if it's in your kitchen, you don't have to have your own separate factory as long as you are processing in a separate facility. After you have passed that, we then come with the small business
Mr.
unit.
Listen, don't pass that as yet, because that is a crucial point you just raised there. Now you're telling me that if I'm in my kitchen and I have a bona fide business, I do my cocoa sticks, I do my ice pops, would I be penalized for that?
No. I am saying as long as you have running water in your kitchen and your produce comes in as one area, you wash your produce, then you do your processing, you boil your cocoa, whatever, and then you do your packaging, and you have a flow in your kitchen, you qualified. Because we know the challenge of people having facilities. So all we want to make sure you are doing it in a safe and in a hygienic, and your process flows make sense.
And we will also provide guidance and for improvement, etc.
Yes, part of the program is to provide training wherever we have identified an area of weakness, be it in your process flow, be it in your packaging, anything that can improve the presentation of a product will be highlighted, and we'll provide the training again or at the cost of the project. We have provision for providing training at the project cost and not from your package that you're entitled to. The package you are entitled to would be entitled to for your equipment. Any training that we deem necessary, the project will pay for that training.
Okay, so once that team goes out, that will take a couple weeks. I'm assuming 180 applications.
We open to do it in 2, maximum 1 month.
Okay, so a month,
Yeah.
right? That's a lead time, and then we come back now, do the evaluations.
Yeah, in terms of the level of support that
Yes.
is required, because somebody might say they have a business of 40,000, but when we look at the business, they are operating at 10,000. So we have to prove the authenticity of the business to determine the level of intervention. And again, we have given processors the flexibility of ordering whatever equipment they see necessary to improve their operations.
Okay, so mentioning ordering, is that something that has to be done locally? Can I go online? Can I have a counterpart somewhere in India who can assist me? Will I be restricted, in other words?
Well, we're hoping that they did that when they filled out the expression of interest, in that we had a list of items on the form, but we also made provision for items not on the form that can be applied for. So, for example, you're into coconut milk and you want a certain type of extractor that you identify in India. You get the source of the supplier, but one thing we have to make sure, whatever equipment that we order online, it has to be industrial grade, it has to be stainless steel, and the motor has to be capable of industrial operations. We don't want our operation like a homemade blender, you blend twice and the blender stops working. No, as an agroprocessor, you would know the cost of an industrial blender is 10 times the price of an ordinary blender. So whereas I might go by Jupini and buy a blender for $100+, a professional blender might cost close to $1,000. And it will last longer and will ensure food safety requirements if it's a stainless steel, etc. So yes, you can source your own material, have the invoice, we have to make sure it's a reputable source, and then we intend to engage a local supplier that will then consolidate all those foreign items that are not on the original list, to ensure we have economies of scale and not just one ordering, but we consolidate all the orders that are necessary, either from India or from Pakistan or wherever somebody has sourced the equipment that they will require within the budget.
So we're saying in the next 2 months, all this should have been covered and being rolled out. And by October, our peak season for processing, we like to deal with food and local during that time. We should have seen an improvement in our agro-processing operations.
We open by next year festival by October. Fisheries, you will have agro-processors with their equipment, and we're hoping that consumers will see a cheaper product, because if you're doing it more efficiently, you're spending less time. We're hoping that the consumers can now patronize, instead of buying 10 cocoa sticks, can now buy 20 cocoa sticks, because you now have cocoa sticks a little more affordable for the consumer.
Well, I'll be the devil's advocate. We don't know what the price of cocoa will be. The cocoa beans themselves, transportation might go up, so I'll be the devil's advocate for processors. Okay, processors, I have your back, and farmers, I have your back. So we've covered that. We've covered
consumers' back.
In terms of silk, so we've covered all the tenants of silk, I believe. We've looked at the slipways. One thing you mentioned for the fish component, in terms of the improvement to the sites, I have two questions for you. One, you mentioned Soufriere and Scottshead, which are two twinning villages, rather, communities, but I know they have 2 areas. So are these 2 areas going to be fixed, or is it just one within that area?
We're looking at Scottshead and we're looking at Soufriere separately. So both areas.
Someone had that concern.
Yeah,
yes.
We're looking at both areas. And we're also looking at Stowe, Saint-Sauveur, Newtown, Foncole, Maho, Bios, and Dubla.
And different areas will require different forms of assistance.
Yes, so for example, as I said, Stowe, Scottshead, Soufriere, and Saint-Sauveur, we're hoping to either restore or build a new slipway so that farmers will improve on their boats landing especially in time of disaster. In addition, we're hoping to improve the vending sites of Maho, Fokole, and Newtown, and we're hoping to improve locker rooms and toilets in Bios, Lubra, and I can't remember if I forgot any area. But these are the three levels of intervention: slipways, vending areas, toilets, and locker rooms. Also, each landing site we're hoping to provide ice machines because we need to improve both ice for going out to ensure that the fish coming back is fresh, and at the same time we're hoping that the shelf life will be improved by providing bins at the landing site for improving the storage of fish, improving the quality of fish for consumers.
So, and that will improve the vending of the fish itself?
Definitely. Again, hoping that we not only have a safer fish, but a cheaper fish.
How do we get to cheaper fish now in all these topics?
Cheaper fish because you're doing it more operation, you have less spoilage. If you were buying 100 pounds and you were losing 10 pounds because it's spoiling, you're now losing less. So if you're losing less, you have more fish to sell. We also, one of the interventions we have is we want to provide 55 boats, bigger boats, boats that are 8 feet wide, capable of catching more fish. So if we have more fish catching and more fish coming in, we're expecting the consumer to get a better deal in a cheaper fish. Because we're talking about food security, less imports, more local. For it to eat what we grow, we must have it affordable for the consumer.
Speaking of the consumer and local, etc., in terms of the construction, rehabilitation, in all the areas with the fish landing sites, will that be local contractors we're engaging or one general contractor for all the areas?
Well, that's a very good question. Up to Wednesday, we had a site visit in Maho, and we basically had 4 local contractors, and we're hoping to give a contract by next week to commence the works in Maho. But I must mention there's a collaboration with OECS in that OECS has agreed to build the stalls, ice machine, and external toilets in Maho while we build the slipway. So there's a collaboration between institutions to ensure that we don't duplicate and we don't waste money, and we use the limited funds we have and stretch it as far as possible. So far for Maho, we have collaborated with the OECS, and we have seen some interventions where they can do and some where we're going to do, and to make the livelihood of the fishermen and fisher folks in Maho much more pleasurable.
So St. Paul's is getting a facelift.
Yep, and we're hoping that the cooperative with the business ideas will now start to improve on improving the cooperative by buying all the fish from the people using that landing site and have fish available again to consumers cheaper and more available.
I'll leave that to the cooperative to deliberate on. I'm not going to take that on. But in terms of why just Maho though?
Well, Maho was already advanced in that they had the EU project and they had designs already for the slipways. So with designs done, normally we would have to do designs, bill of quantities, then tender. So since that the designs were done already, all we had to do was get a contractor and start to build.
So we're saying from the contractors we have, they are shortlisted and then they will be chosen.
Yeah, as I said,
in all the areas.
Yep, we're hoping to have local contractors of the areas so that work can be faster and know the local conditions as opposed to a foreign contractor coming in.
So I'm going to be devil's advocate. What if the cooperative says that they do not want X, Y, and Z contractor, and this is the person that qualifies?
Unfortunately, the cooperatives do not have the money, so they can't call the shots. The piper calls the tune.
Okay, so I'm hoping that that is not a situation we have. I do know.
Well, it was done in collaboration with them. So, for
Yes.
example, on Wednesday, they were on site and they expressed through the contractors their concerns. So we have them on site to ensure that whatever we do, it addresses the concerns of the area.
Mr. Stevenson, we wanted to touch on so many things, but the time is quickly going. I didn't realize. We have a major intervention in the West Agricultural Region, the rock water system, and that is something that we want to commission as very soon. Give us a little insight into that for the West Region farmers. You know, Salisbury is known as the vegetable belt of Dominica.
Well, irrigation project where we wanted to restore the lines after Maria. Unfortunately, the storm that took place, I think, early January, that I can't remember exactly when, but we had some bad weather that damaged the lines. So that kind of put us back in that we had to restore the main lines from the water source. We're hoping that the equipment will be on island by next week because the contractor has his contract, he ordered the necessary equipment, and we want to have two sessions. We want to have a session with the farmers to ensure that farmers understand use of the system, how to maintain the system, what kind of fees they can charge their members that they can replace patch. After we have made the intervention can be sustainable. So we want to have a session with the farmers within the next 2 weeks. After the session with the farmers, we're hoping that we can have commissioning of the system, and the system has a capability of serving 61 farmers. And the system, already we have installed drip lines over 7 farmers. And that's a low-hanging fruit. We're hoping to install more drip lines within the next coming weeks. So by the time we're ready to commission, we're hoping that over 20 farmers will be actively using the system.
Any feedback from the farmers so far? Because I know some are already utilizing the system.
The farmers are so happy that anytime I go to Salisbury, I get watermelon from the farmers, I get tomatoes from Mr. Vidal, from his son, because although the system is not 100%, but the 70% of the system prevents them from using the water, and they have enough water because they're using drip systems. So enough pressure for them to irrigate their tomatoes and their watermelon. So a number of farmers, I know over 7 farmers, have already benefited from the system and are very satisfied with the provision of water, and more importantly, not having to use the wasco, because the wasco seems to be very expensive.
Well, I mean, and it's a better water in terms of it doesn't have any additives and less pressure on the system anyway, saying that the dry season is upon us. And I just want to say I'm seeing that Karam may be smiling right now as we speak. He being a prolific vegetable farmer. Mr. Stevenson, we have 1 more minute, unless you want to go some more, but I know we have to be in Portsmouth tomorrow in terms of the tissue culture lab facility being commissioned and other related activities. So just to wrap up for us in terms of the project itself, we spoke about infrastructure, we spoke about the circ, ongoing projects, just to let the farmers know what's going on, what they can look forward to, and any other of the approaches that you want to mention to them.
Well, we're moving forward with the restoration of livestock structures, and not only livestock structures, we have made available electric fencing using solar especially for small ruminants, to avoid dogs from causing damage to goat and sheep. We ordered 60 and we have installed over 30 such systems. So that is something new. We have also provided fencing wire for farmers in terms of ensuring that their goats and sheep are enclosed, and we're in the process of building over 170 structures, including poultry, small ruminants, and pigs. And that is ongoing. Contractors are receiving their monies. Sometimes we have some little delays, so please bear with us in that we have to go through a process of ensuring that the work is done properly before you get paid. But as long as the process is followed, we have contractors getting paid. I have some farmers calling me and telling me, thanks, Mr. Stevenson, the money is in their account right now.
But why they only calling you? All of us work hard. Why they don't call me and say that?
They call in the office also, but they know they have called me a number of times, so they have to call me to ease up the pressure and say, well, sir, I won't call you anymore. Our problem has been solved. So that's why they have been calling me. Some farmers have even sent, up to this afternoon, we had a whole bag of lettuce in the office. Farmers sending lettuce for the staff, being satisfied with the intervention that we have making for them with regard to irrigation, etc. So the signal I'm getting out there from the farmers selling their produce to next year, from hucksters going to get their boxes soon, there has been some renewed energy from farmers, especially vegetable and field crop farmers, in terms of the restoration of the sector and linking farmers to markets.
Speaking of the texture facility, Mr. Stevenson, some farmers are a little they are excited and they are happy, but in terms of the volumes that they want to really sell to next year, is there a limitation on that?
As far as I know, I might be wrong. Unfortunately, we don't have next year, but there is no limitation in the volume that are being purchased, particularly for plantain and sweet potatoes, pumpkin, and dashing.
What about stuff like ginger and turmeric?
They have been buying ginger. I'm not too sure for turmeric, but I know they have been buying ginger and even eggplants. But they have had a mandate to buy all the produce and then make arrangements for selling the produce when they buy it.
All right, so we said that the structures, we covered the boats in terms of the boat building facility, and that is ongoing. Any update on that for us in terms of when we will have a test run? Because the boat is so big, it can accommodate, I think, the entire office.
We wrote to Maritime for doing a testing of the boat, because before we start commercial production of the boat, we want to ensure that the boats are stable, they can hit the waters of the Atlantic Sea, they are buoyant, etc. So we wrote to Maritime this week. We're hoping to get a response from them maybe next week to provide a date of testing, so that at the end of the day we can get recommendations, if any at all, for mass producing. We already submit the contracts, hoping to get a feedback from finance. Right now we're waiting for the boat builders to provide the social security information so that we can have the contract issued by June for the latest, so that the boat builders can comment. The hardest part of the boat building was to build the molds. We have built 4 molds, a 25-foot mold and a 22-foot mold, and we're also making provisions for building a smaller boat for farmers or fisher folks that cannot afford to have the improved engines that are required for the bigger boats. So we basically are going to have 3 types of boats: a 25-footer, 8 feet wide, a 22-footer, 8 feet wide, and a 22-footer, 6 feet wide. That would accommodate the normal 40 engine, but the 22-foot boat, 8 feet wide, would need a minimum of 80 horsepower, 2 40 engines, or 1 80 engine to run it. And the 25-foot would need at least 200 to run it. So out of the 55 fishermen who have expressed interest, over 25 of them already have the suitable engines to run those bigger boats. And 18 of them have expressed their willingness to get their boats either from the Aid Bank or from Guadeloupe Martinique or from local suppliers. A very small number have been undecided on how the engines going to be sourced.
But we did have a meeting and we brought in the local, let's say, auto trade, etc. And I think a revision in terms of the contractual arrangement is being sought out.
Yes, auto trade has promised to provide improved terms of the hire purchase, in that the engines can be repaid over a year instead of 6 months, a grace period, and at the end of the day, a warranty of a year instead of 6 months. So these are some of the conditions we're hoping that would encourage fishermen to get the bigger engines.
Okay, so finally, just to wrap up, Mr. Stevenson, would you say it's now is a very good time to be part of the sector? I mean, you being a farmer yourself, you might be biased, but is it a good time to be involved in the agricultural sector as we speak right here now in Dominica?
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask that. Why? I studied agriculture on the premise that people must eat, irrespective of what crisis is going on in the world, be it Ukraine, be it Israel, or inflation. At the end of the day, people must eat. In light of the fact that we have increased disease and illnesses, people not only must eat, but they must eat healthy. And eating healthy means more access to local food, more access to food grown under conditions under which you know what inputs are being used and not GMOs. So I personally, being a recovering cancer patient, I personally looking forward to eating more local produce. Again, by being more active as a farmer, encouraging health, rather than going in the gym, I encourage people to have, the ministry right now have a backyard farming program for public officers. The reason for that is to encourage people to be more active, to grow their own food, and at the same time, instead of paying $100 to go to a gym, you spend some time on your farm, be it your farm or your backyard garden. So I personally think it's an excellent time for agriculture in terms of the provision of not only local food where we can eat what we grow, but healthier food to prevent diabetes, high blood pressure, and the high prevalence of cancer in Dominica as a result of not eating properly.
Okay, and there you have it, folks. Thank you very much, Mr. Stevenson, for that. Very insightful way. I mean, the program has gone. I'm shocked that for the first time we've been on the radio with you and there are no callers. So the technician told me maybe there are a lot of distractions this evening, but at least the program is out. You can come back and tune in once again on DBS or on a Facebook page. For more information, you can visit the office. Do remember that the hurricane season is fast approaching, and we are encouraging and urging farmers to really make a plan, get prepared, and know what they are doing come hurricane season. You do have to understand that even if you're given the inputs, the equipment, yes, it was free for you, but someone had to pay for it, and it's not a case that you can just be negligible and believe that you will get more equipment. So you need to just improve your structures or have a plan, ensure that your records are kept safely, and ensure that you dialogue with your extension officer on ways you can improve your holding. Once again, we want to remind you that for all what we've spoken about this evening, you need to be a registered farmer with the Division of Agriculture. All right? There is no way that you are able to benefit if you're not registered. So you cannot stay on the fringes and expect to get benefits. Registration is very, very simple. It only takes a form and a farm visit, and that is all you need. For if you are non-national, of course, the other parameters, and we will discuss that with you. But if you need to get registered today, please speak with your extension officer. I know that I have a couple farmers who visited me, Chris in Bellevue being one of them, so I will reach out to him, and I had a busy week. But do ensure that I haven't forgotten you. For those farmers whose produce seller's license has expired, we are still working with you on that, so we will not penalize any farmers for that. We also want to remind you that with the dry season, with the heat that's on right now, that you need to safeguard your health. You need to have protective clothing. You need to ensure that you drink enough water. For those of you who are applying pesticides, chemicals, etc., that you wear your protective gear. We've given out a number of those. This is not something that you want to play with. And so visit your health center. Do your regular checks. We want to also extend condolences to Mr. Cuthbert Vital's family. I mean, we just spoke to him on Monday. He had just planted, I think, 500 or so acres of cocoa trees, I believe, 500. And then he's always in the process of doing that. His avocados, he likes to germinate. He's also provider of that material for us in terms of the plant propagation unit. So honestly, we really felt this one. And we just want to say that he was a prolific farmer. He was an extension officer. Basically, he was like family to us. So our prayers and our thoughts go out to his family in this time of bereavement. So once again, it's another Thursday. It's another third Thursday where we bring you the information of the sector and the developments and the opportunities, most importantly, for you as a farmer. Some people have their main source of income, and agriculture is their source of another source of relaxation, therapy, and a way to just contribute to our resilience journey, to our target goal of $700 million to the economy by 2030. So once again, that's it for me. Until next time, as I usually say, do go out there and be productive. God bless. Have a good night, everyone. Are you into agribusiness or agri-trading? Do you want to join the sector? Are you looking for guidance? The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy is calling on you to tune in this Thursday and every third Thursday of the month from 8 p.m. for AgriAction, where we provide you with factual information. Be part of the movement, join the discussion, make your contribution, make a difference. AgriAction, where we seek to update you on local and global opportunities and trends. AgriAction, a program of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Blue and Green Economy. Join us right here on DBS Radio and via our social media platforms. AgriAction, where agriculture comes to life.
Mr. and or Madam Farmer, the hurricane season is right here. Protect your farms from hurricanes or storms. Before a hurricane or a storm, unblock all drains on your farms and build new drains to remove rainwater away from your farm. Prune or debranche tree crops to prevent the strong wind from uprooting your valuable trees. Make sure you secure your farm tools, your chainsaws, your brush cutters, your wheelbarrows, etc. Place them in a safe and secure place. And the chemicals, weedicides, fungicides, pesticides, store them in a place where rainwater won't carry them into the ravines and into the rivers and into the seas. No pave pièce mille, pièce squibbish floating. And hey, keep a list of everything you have on your farm records. Secure these. Give them to someone to hold for you and make an extra copy. Your livelihood is important. Protect your livelihood this hurricane season.
A message brought to you by the ministry responsible for agriculture and fisheries.